to the first episode of the Ivy Room, brought to you by Saucy Sounds. I just made that up.
Let's go.
We don't know what we're doing on here, but I've got my good man Deontay Music here. We will just be having a good time, sitting back, relaxing, talking all things music and musicianship. So enjoy. And today's subject is um, how to find your identity as a musician and as a teacher. Like kind of going as both, and then like just what versus a teacher and versus a musician. Like what's the difference? So that's kind of the conversation today. And where this came from was as Dean and I were kind of going back and forth on what we want to talk about today. He and I both obviously on the social media platforms, and it's such an interesting disparity of what we how we see ourselves and how our audience sees us. And so that also too has an influence on just kind of everything that we create. So I wanted to dive into that. So let me go ahead and kick it off. D, I want to know, how has your experience been finding your sound as a creator, as a musician, as a teacher? Like, what's that been like?
Man, that is a great question. um, so my sound as a creator is actually a lot different from my sound with a lot of other like musical projects that I'll do. So my sound as a creator is largely it's been largely curated by what people want to hear from me and what people are kind of seeking to learn, what people are kind of seeking to gain out of watching me. And then, kind of my own sound, my own musical direction kind of takes a back seat with regard to a lot of what I put out on social media. So yeah, it is kind of different. I wouldn't recommend that everybody do that. Just because I come from a world where I have to be kind of stretched and pulled in these different directions musically, because I am recording in studios, I am tracking for other people's music, and so I'm forced to be really versatile in terms of the type of music that I master, the music that I play really well. But my recommendation would be to try to stick to one or two lanes and then put that out there, if that makes sense.
Right, man. So what would you feel? So okay, so how do you deal with it? Like just on an emotional level or creative level, how do you still feel like okay, this is fulfilling for me on a personal level, or like where do you get a chance to grind your teeth on what you want to do? Where's that happen at?
Yeah. Another good question. You got heat, man, right out the gate. That's awesome. Yeah, so I again, like the social media and all that, that's only one part of what I do. So I do a lot of playing in church. I do a lot of composing for media, primarily for film, like short films and short films. And of course, I teach as well. So a lot of what you all see on social media is just this small percentage of what I'm actually doing musically. So
Okay,
yeah,
so
that
basically,
to kind of get at it more directly too, like in terms of how my cup is being filled or how I feel musically fulfilled, it's coming from a lot of different directions, right? I kind of set out on this path of I want to provide value musically, and I don't want to kind of be confined to one box because I love learning different aspects about music.
right?
So my cup is getting filled in a lot of those different ways. So
Okay. Do you have any particular favorite avenues that like, if you could only pick two, what would you feel would be your top two?
man, okay. So my first love musically was classical music, and I use that term to be like this catch-all for anything from the 1920s and before, and European music too. So I would say classical music, and right now I'm on a gospel music kick. I grew up the church that I grew up in was largely a just playing gospel music, so that's close to home also, that's close to the heart. So those would probably be my top two picks.
Okay. Okay. How did you get started in your film score career, and how's that been going? I didn't
That
realize you were doing that.
man, okay. You and I probably haven't talked about this hardly at all.
Yeah.
So when it comes to like the film scoring, that was birthed from I'm trying to remember the name of the movie that inspired me. I was like, man, like there's music that goes to picture. Like we all watch movies, we all watch TV, we play video games, whatever, and there's music in all of that stuff. But some of the best music is the music that you don't notice. So it I feel like it took a while for me to really be like, wow, there's music to this thing that somebody's actually composing and curating for this visual art form. But anyway, so that was kind of birthed from me just getting to that realization, and then I was like, hey, let me pursue that. How can I kind of get my foot in the door with that? So I started writing for music libraries. I got signed on with a an exclusive music library in I want to say 2022, end of 22, beginning of 2023. Um, and then from there, I was like, okay, like I see how music and picture really fit together. I kind of see the behind the scenes of how the directors and the producers and the writers go about having their vision for what the music should be for their scripts and for their shots and all of this stuff. So then from that, that's just another thing added to my freelance portfolio. So that's the quick short answer of it.
And what program are you using to do your scoring in?
So for the recording, it's all in Ableton Live, and then as far as like writing the scores, the actual sheet music for different musicians, that's all done in Muse Score. Muse Score. It's a free software. If you're not familiar with it, that's Muse Score.
Okay, nice, man. I didn't. We never did talk about your, because I love film scoring as well. It's something I want to get more into later when
Yeah,
I'm done juggling a million things in life. As every music, I feel like every musician right now just wears so many hats just to make
yeah,
it work.
yeah.
Man, that's cool. I love. Do you have like a favorite string library or anything like that?
A favorite library?
Like a favorite string library or piano library?
Oh, string library. Yeah. Man, so the top two ones that I use are pretty much anything from Spitfire Audio. They're out of the UK. Um, and then I recently came across another like production factory VST maker called Orchestral Tools. I believe they're out of Berlin, Germany. But those are like I can't find better, like an overall better group of samples and libraries than those two companies put out. This is not sponsored, by the way.
Hey, we can talk about it though. No, teasing. That's dope, man. So, man, it's just so fascinating how just you really just don't know the breadth of what someone's doing when it comes to social media. It really is just a bunch of snapshots, and
Yeah,
I love it and hate it at the same time. Like
yeah.
a lot of good stuff happening on there, and just a lot of like false and blindness on there as well.
The,
Um, go ahead.
just since like we're talking about finding your own sound, one of the things, and I see a lot of consumers of music social media content fall into this trap. It's that they're taking in so much of it, and a lot of it is so it's so widespread in terms of genre or style or where the music should fit. Like there's so much consumption of these varying and differing pieces of content that it kind of scatters your brain a little bit. So for you all who might be familiar with me and with Zach and maybe 20 other keyboard players, like what is it about our content that draws you in? What is it about our sound or the music that we play? What is it about all that stuff that draws you in? And I would say focus on that for a little while. Take some time to really think, really ponder, like, how can I take from this and actually make it useful to my own playing and then make it my own, right? Because you shouldn't want to sound exactly like me. You shouldn't want to sound exactly like Zach. You shouldn't want to sound exactly like anybody else. you should want to sound like your own self.
Facts. Man, took the words right out of my mouth. Man, I love what you said about being scattered. It's like a lack of context. People are just seeing lick after lick or chord change after chord change with no context, no groove, no really just no, like you said, just no context. And you see everything at once, and then you just become instantly overwhelmed, or you just want to learn everything at once. And music just
Yeah.
doesn't happen that way. And it's so crazy how like subtle the changes happen, and then how normal it is depending on when you were born. Because depending, because we're old, right? Depending, we're unks now, right? We're old heads. But like
Once you hit
depending,
30, it's all over.
right? Like depending on when you're born, you only know social media music. Where it's like when we were growing up, you only had a record. You couldn't go on YouTube and find your artist. You had to either go get the DVD, buy a CD, and you had to go to the record store to get the CD. And
Yeah.
your CD player skipped.
Yeah. Man.
So
Facts.
it's even just the way music is consumed has changed. Back then it was about an album. Now it's always more a single. But what's interesting though? You're seeing though like a resurgence though. I feel like we're seeing
Mm.
a recycling, so to speak, where people are actually getting back to the loyalty. And I mean, there's always been a lot of loyalty for artists, especially underground. But now I feel like on a mainstream level, people are starting to say, okay, let's let's get back into specializing and just to like having our select few. And it's like they're
Yeah.
starting to learn how to drown out the extra noise. Okay, we only follow
Yeah.
this person. So I do think some people are a little bit gloom and doom with it. I think that there's an opportunity. If there's anything social media has taught me, there's an opportunity to carve a niche out. And what I find it comes down to is authenticity and consistency. We talk
100%.
about finding sound. I know I went through quite a few phases where I just dropped off the face of the earth and just stopped posting because I just wasn't sure like who the heck I was musically.
Yeah.
Um, and it took me a minute to kind of figure out how to reconcile what I wanted to do, but also stay faithful. Like there's the musician side of me, then there's the teacher side of me. And I felt like I had to reconcile those two together because I can teach anything,
Mhm.
but do I want to teach anything?
Right.
And
Right.
that was a question I had to get to myself. Was like, what do you want? I can play anything, and I feel like I just answered that question like yesterday. I was um, just with my online community, just trying to figure out like why are they here? I'm like, because they love my sounds. I'm like, you know what? I love me some R&B, neo soul, jazz.
Yeah.
Like I'm not a, and that's the thing. I'm not a jazz music. Like I am a jazz. Like I play jazz. I go up around jazz,
Sure.
but my sound isn't actually jazz. It's jazzy, but it's not
Hmm.
actually jazz. I would actually put myself with an R&B and like soul with a flair of jazz and a flair of gospel.
Yeah.
And that's my sound. And I was like, you know what? Let me just give. And I had to go back to like my roots, like 15-year-old kid in my room on Fruity Loops and Reason and with the Phantom, Roland Phantom X8. Like, what was I making? I
Yeah.
just had to get back, like, be that kid in the studio having fun. And I was like, you know what? And I put out an album, that Blossom album, a couple months back.
Hmm.
And I was like, you know what? That's what I love to make and play. And so it took me, what is this, year three now? To kind of really hammer out, like, what I wanted to commit to in terms of the whole entire music versus teacher and how to reconcile that. Because it
Yeah.
is a trap, man. When you can do a lot of things, you're kind of like, well, shoot, now I don't know what to do.
Right. Right.
That can be pretty frustrating.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that, especially when like there's doing a lot of things and then there's doing a lot of things well and then there's doing a lot of things not well. You know what I mean? Like if you are a person that you have a lot of skills, you have a lot of things that you do that you're actually skilled at, but you can execute doing multiple things well, like that is different than doing a lot of things kind of okay. You know what I mean? And then we can even get into the conversation of like, should I pursue trying to monetize all of these things, which again, that's a deeper trap of this trap that we're talking about. You know what I mean? So for a lot of people, like just kind of getting started and trying to find your own way, trying to find either your own sound or where you'd fit in, finding your own community. If you can, again, just stick to one or two things and get well versed at those one or two things first before even thinking about trying to do four, five, six different things. For most people, it's not going to work. And I'm not saying this to try to give you this this false perception that I'm doing 10 things and I'm crushing all of them. No, like I'm primarily a piano player, and yes, I hit various genres just by way of, the nature of my profession and my upbringing, which we can talk about. Um, but beyond that, like I don't feel like I'm getting pulled in all of these different directions where I can't keep my head above water. That's the difference. A lot of people, they want to do a bunch of different things and they're drowning, you know? And that's when we get all kinds of other issues. So
Yeah,
that's all I got to say.
no, that's legit. I think, when we talk about the term musician and what it even means to be a musician, it's such a broad term, and I think that's like the number one difficulty. Where just starting there is, what does it even mean to be a musician?
Mhm.
Like in 2025, what does it mean to be a musician? Does it mean that you're touring? Does it mean you're in a studio? Does it mean you're playing for a local church? Does it mean you make your entire living off of it?
Yeah.
Like, what does it even mean? I think that there are people who play music for fun and passion, and someone argue they're not musicians,
Hmm.
which I think is false. Like, if you love to play music, whether you're a beginner or a newbie, or the same thing, whether you're a beginner or a professional, you're a musician. I think
Yeah.
professional is more of a different. I think that's a different segment.
Yeah.
But it's like you look at Instagram. I think a lot of people just get discouraged with social media because the thing about social media that's such a trap is that it turns you into a consumer, and which is weird because the whole design of it was so you could share.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like working backwards, but um, I feel like at least something that I'm doing differently now is exactly what you talked about. Is I've just gotten a lot more intentional because it's funny. My whole brand started with me just sharing practice. Like I just literally put my iPhone up and was like, "Hey," I would just it was my hand, not even my face, just my hands. It was like
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
it's almost like one of those ASMR channels or just my hands, like pics with my hands.
He's a hand model by trade, everybody.
I was like, I don't do feet pics, but I do hand so
Somebody clip that.
right. So it just started off with just clips in my hands, and I just was sharing like my thought process through what I was practicing or playing, whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I struggled for a bit to figure out like man, what do I even want to do, because I never started off trying to monetize. It was just I just wanted to share my passion for teaching and my passion for music.
Yeah.
Now in this place, I'm like, okay, I'm really into helping people understand the language of music, at least from my perspective, and through that, and help them figure out, especially if you're into like the R&B, neo soul,
Hmm.
jazzy flair things. Um, but it's been a wild journey, and I can't wait till we get into other topics like gear. Oh, that's a whole other conversation.
Ooh-wee. Does gear matter?
Man, that's next week's episode, folks.
Yeah.
Truth about gear doesn't matter because that is a rabbit hole. Um, so I guess not to deviate too far because my brain wants to go everywhere. Where do you feel like, now that you've done this for a while, where do you feel like you've arrived as far as your identity as a content creator in the music space? Like, do you feel like you've
Mhm.
landed? Like, how are you feeling about it these days?
Yeah, man. So, whew, and this is like the composer side of my brain, right? So, I find so much of my enjoyment when it comes to creating content and just creating music as a whole is making something new. So, uh back in, it was the end of January getting into February, and I remember I was sitting down at the piano right here, and I thought to myself, oh, like, what if Fur Elise sounded different? Little did I know, John Baptiste, he put out like a blues version of Fur Elise. I didn't realize that till people flooded my comments after the video got like 2 million views on Instagram. And so I was just like, oh, like what if Fur Elise was jazz? That was the question that went through my head. And so I slid towards the camera and I asked that question, and I played this little, like these jazzy voicings of the opening of Fur Elise. And so video took off like overnight. It got like almost half a million, I think, 400,000 or 500,000 views.
Yeah, that video did
And I was
crazy.
like, what the heck is happening? This is right along the lines of that thing, like the content that you spend hours on creating flops, and the ones that just, it's a random whim, they take off. But anyway, so just doing that, like I enjoyed doing that, like creating this new little thing, and people were like, "Oh, we need a full version." And I was like, "Man." And it was like every third comment was saying we need a full version. So I was like, "Shoot, well, I guess now I got to make a full version." And I think I pulled like an all-nighter 2 nights in a row after that, just creating the full thing. I was studying the original score and I made a full version of it. It's on YouTube, whatever. It's on my TikTok. And then people were like, "Where's the sheet music for it?" I was like, "Oh, dang, I guess I got to make the sheet music for it now."
Yeah.
And now, dude, the sheet music is like, it's one of the best selling things on my website right now. I didn't plan to do any of this, but
Right.
people wanted it. And I was like, well, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to follow through with this because it's right along the lines with what I like to do. I like to create new versions of things. I like to create new compositions as a whole, right? Again, this is my compositional brain talking. And so for me, like that is fulfilling. That is like arriving for me, knowing that I'm making something that actually resonates with people. I'm making something that leaves the person wanting to hear more. So for me, that is arriving as a musician.
Yeah, you know what? I gotta say, man, that's something like I've always respected your brand shots because like you've all like I look at you, I'm like, man, this guy is crushing in terms of I don't know how you do it. I don't even try to do it. Your ability to just make posts that do well. I just stay in my little lane. I'm like, man, Dion is killing. Bro needs to put out a master class. Like,
Your little lane as your bro. Everybody listen, because I know you guys know Zach. His following is over 100,000 on Instagram. He's got a sizable following on other platforms as well, YouTube. And he's not saying little literally like his platform is small or his following is small. He's just using hyperbole, all right?
you know, thank you. Save me from the pit of haters and commenters
I'm
that I think
telling you, man, because that's the type of thing that I deal with, and I know you dealt with it as well. So for anybody watching, this is two buddies just chopping it up. So we're gonna use verbiage like that.
it's like I don't do it on purpose, but I just ignore the numbers just to keep myself in a healthy headspace.
Yeah, you have to.
And I just I mean, I'm appreciative, obviously, of the following, and I want to continue to serve them. And I've got a fresh wave coming out because I disappeared again for like a good month because I just had to figure out. Man. I just be having to figure out like I hate doing stuff just to do it.
Yeah.
I hate just posting a piece of content so I was like I love to be intentional and say okay so I figured out what I want to give in the season like how I'm going to give it in a way that makes sense. I also had to take some time away just to actually serve my online community that's like
Hmm.
my actual well they're all my students but just the students that are paying to be there so
Right.
but now I'm like okay I figure out kind of what I want to do and how do I want to do it but the the whole audience follow thing, even that's gotten so different because now the numbers almost don't even matter because the whole paradigm has shifted to like interest based content. So
Hmm.
it used to be where we would post something and then our followers could see it. Now they don't really see it as much, which kind of sucks because that was the whole reason why they followed you in the first place.
Yeah.
Because somebody, I remember I was posting consistently, and they were like, "Where you been at?" I'm like, "I've been back." A matter of fact, I put out a multi-part series where I was talking about like harmonizing or something for like a week straight.
Yeah.
So it sucks that we don't have that ability to capitalize on the followers like in years past, where you could post something and your followers were guaranteed to see it. You know,
Yeah.
um, because I feel like that takes away. I get it. People want interest based but I'm like that. That's also why you can just use the unfollow button. So
Facts.
it'll be interesting to see kind of the state of they say social media is over and now interest media is prevalent. So it'll be interesting to see just kind of how everything shapes up here in the next year or two. But I do think that one thing I've always respected about your brand is I've always loved how consistent you were, and you still are, just in terms of your approach and your sound. And it was actually very helpful for me, honestly, because I would
Mm.
see it and just be reminded, like Zach, like he's so consistent. Like as you go through this journey, like find your wherever it is. Once you find it, you can stay there. So it was actually really helpful for me just to be observed from a distance.
Yeah.
It was kind of a little bit of a north star in a way, actually.
That's funny that you say that because I remember, this was sometime last year, 2024, and I remember asking you, I think it was on another like video call, but I remember asking you, I was like, "Hey, like I'm no, it was further back. It was before I even had a kid. I had a kid in what the heck? Everybody, I had a kid in 2024 January. So I asked Zach leading up to that moment. I was like, Zach, like how do you balance it all? Like how do you balance fatherhood? Like I'm getting ready to have a kid. What do you do to make sure that you keep getting the content out? And I'm gonna sum up what he told me. He basically said, you need to find a system that will allow you to stay consistent. And so I did that. And so it's so interesting to hear him say that I'm inspiring him with my consistency because it's what he told me. But it's so true. Like anybody, if this isn't just with content creation or whatever, this should be with every aspect of your life that matters, that actually has value, right? If it matters to you, then you need to carve out the time to do it well. Okay. Whatever that thing is, whatever those things are, carve out the time. Like I make sure that I carve out the time that it takes to be a good dad in whatever capacity and whatever the heck that even means. I guess I won't know if I'm a good dad until the kids are older. uh, Carve out the time to make sure that you're a good employee in your places of work. Carve out the time. You know what I mean? Do what you need to do to put your best foot forward in all these different aspects of life. Man, I'm about to somebody get me a pulpit. I'm about to start preaching.
Let's get that.
Man, oh man. I need Zach to follow me around and just be my talk music. Man, it's
Oh,
true,
yeah,
man.
make use that worship vibe.
That's why I followed Zach all those years ago because he sounds like that.
I love this pretty chords, man. Always love me some pretty chords.
Come on, man.
Always love me some pretty chords.
Let's go.
Hey, shout out to Mike Nice. He's tuning in on the live. Shout out. We got a
What's up,
first.
Mike?
It says we got 4 concurrent. Hey, we appreciate y'all. We just having fun. This is
Let's
a
go.
kickback. You guys invited. Matter of fact, we'll be doing this every Tuesday. If I can convince D, we'll be doing this every Tuesday. if he can make time for the things he thinks are important. I'm just joking. But drop questions below. This is definitely a participatory situation. We want y'all involved. So if
Yeah.
you want to ask questions, this is where we're open book. Drop comments below what subjects you want us to talk about, and we will definitely make that happen. So, anyways, but with that being said, we're actually about to hop over to the next live stream. So we will catch y'all next week uh, for the Ivy Romasasi sounds, and then we're about to hop over to Dion's channel and do his. So every Tuesday, I guess 6 Pacific Standard Time and 9 Eastern Time is what we're looking at.
Yeah.
So, anyways, appreciate y'all. First episode was pretty fun. We'll catch y'all next week.